Hey Vikings Nation, get ready. Because today's Minnesota Vikings news might completely change how we look at the future of this franchise. The Minnesota Vikings just made one of the most surprising quarterback moves of the offseason, bringing in former #1 overall pick KYLER Murray. And right when fans started debating his height and whether he can truly dominate in Minnesota, an NFL legend stepped in with a powerful message. Yes, we're talking about Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner, who jumped into the conversation and basically shut down the critics who keep questioning Murray's size. And what he said about quarterback vision, height, and reading defenses might completely change how Vikings fans see this signing. So Vikings fans, could this be the move that revives KYLER Murray's career and pushes the Minnesota Vikings back into playoff contention? Or is this one of the biggest gambles the franchise has taken in years? Stick with me because this story gets very interesting. Alright Vikings Nation, let's start with the big headline shaking the NFL right now. The Minnesota Vikings have signed KYLER Murray to a one-year deal after his release from the Arizona Cardinals, giving the former Pro Bowl quarterback a fresh start in Minnesota. This move instantly became one of the biggest Minnesota Vikings news stories of the offseason. Murray, once considered one of the most electric dual-threat quarterbacks in the NFL, now has a chance to reboot his career in Kevin O'Connell's offense surrounded by serious talent. And Vikings fans know exactly what that means. Weapons like Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison could suddenly have a quarterback capable of extending plays, improvising, and creating explosive moments again. But the moment this news broke, the debate started immediately across the NFL world. And the biggest criticism? KYLER Murray's height. Standing at about 5'10", Murray has always been one of the shorter starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Critics have questioned for years whether a quarterback that size can consistently see the field over massive defensive linemen. For some analysts, it's been a recurring storyline ever since Murray entered the league as the #1 overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft. And when the Minnesota Vikings signed him, that debate instantly resurfaced across social media and sports shows. But then something interesting happened. Kurt Warner decided to jump into the discussion. And he didn't hold back. Warner took to social media and basically said the entire argument about quarterback height is often misunderstood. According to him, people are asking the wrong question when they talk about whether shorter quarterbacks can see the field. What really matters, Warner explained, isn't physical sight lines. It's how well a quarterback can read defenses, process information, and anticipate where the ball needs to go before receivers even make their break. In other words, a quarterback doesn't need to be tall to succeed. They need to think fast. Warner even pointed out that quarterbacks often play at different effective heights depending on their stance in the pocket. Some quarterbacks bend their knees more, some stand taller, and that can change how they see passing lanes. So a 6 feet 4 inches quarterback might actually play like he's 6 feet 2 inches depending on his posture. And a shorter quarterback might naturally position himself in ways that improve his vision. That's why Warner says only the quarterback truly knows whether height affects their ability to see the field. And here's where things get even more interesting for Vikings fans. Warner himself wasn't a giant quarterback either. Even though he was listed around 6 feet 2 inches, he explained that he played closer to 6 feet 1 inch and rarely had problems seeing defenses during his Hall of Fame career. According to him, the ability to read coverage and anticipate movements is far more important than pure height. And when you look at the history of the NFL, Warner might have a point. Think about quarterbacks like Drew Brees, who stood around 6 feet tall and still became one of the greatest passers in league history. Or Russell Wilson, another quarterback under 6 feet who led the Seattle Seahawks to a Super Bowl title. Even recent quarterbacks like Bryce Young have entered the league with similar size questions. And now KYLER Murray joins that conversation. But here's what makes Murray different from many of those quarterbacks. His athleticism. KYLER Murray isn't just a passer. He's one of the most dynamic running quarterbacks the league has seen in years. Throughout his NFL career, Murray has rushed for more than 3,000 yards, constantly escaping pressure and turning broken plays into explosive gains. That dual-threat ability could add a completely new dimension to the Minnesota Vikings offense. Imagine defenses trying to cover Justin Jefferson deep while also worrying about Murray scrambling out of the pocket. That combination alone could create nightmares for opposing defensive coordinators. And that's exactly why many analysts believe this move could be a low-risk, high-reward signing for Minnesota. Because here's the financial side of the story. Since the Cardinals are still responsible for a huge portion of Murray's guaranteed money, the Vikings were able to sign him to a very affordable one-year deal. That means Minnesota gets a former Pro Bowl quarterback without committing massive salary cap space. If Murray performs well, the Vikings could extend him. If it doesn't work out, they simply move on next year. But of course, this move also raises a big question inside the Minnesota Vikings locker room. What happens to J.J. McCarthy? The young quarterback was expected to be part of Minnesota's long-term plan, but the arrival of KYLER Murray instantly creates competition for the starting job. Some analysts believe Murray will immediately take over as the starter. Others think head coach Kevin O'Connell might let both quarterbacks battle it out during training camp. Either way, the Vikings quarterback room just became one of the most interesting storylines in the entire NFL. And Vikings fans are already debating what this means for the future of the franchise. Could KYLER Murray be the missing piece that unlocks this offense? Or is this simply a short-term experiment while the Minnesota Vikings continue searching for their long-term franchise quarterback? One thing is certain. With Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and Kevin O'Connell's offensive system, KYLER Murray might be walking into the best situation of his career. And if Kurt Warner is right about the height criticism being overblown, then Vikings fans might be about to witness something special. Now I want to hear from you, Vikings Nation. Do you think KYLER Murray will succeed with the Minnesota Vikings? Should he start immediately, or should J.J. McCarthy get the first opportunity? Drop your opinion in the comments because this debate is just getting started. And if you want to stay updated with the latest Minnesota Vikings news, breaking stories, and analysis like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and share this video with every Vikings fan you know. Because trust me, this KYLER Murray story in Minnesota is far from over. Skol Vikings, purple circle, yellow heart.